You know what I love about this podcast? It gives me the chance to catch up with some amazing people that I've shared the field with. And today's guest is one of those. Back in 2010, we were teammates at MACU. And since then, we've both stayed close to the game in our own ways. Coaching, building programs, and giving back to the next generation of players. He's now leading a college team of his own and making big moves in the Sooner Athletic Conference. And on top of all of that, he got married.
Yep.
So life has been full for my Brody lately. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to sit down with the new head coach, soccer coach of the Oklahoma Panhandle State University, Gabriel Gonzalez. How are you, my friend?
Gracias. Muy bien, gracias. Thanks for having me.
Bro, I appreciate you for coming down.
Yeah, like I said, thanks for having me. I think this is a great opportunity to catch up, obviously. So thanks again.
Definitely, man. Hey, coaching the Oklahoma Panhandle State University is huge. But I don't think that's where I wanted to start off with. What have you been doing since MACU? Or better yet, before we even get to MACU, tell me where soccer started for Gabriel. Because from what I know of you is I obviously met you at MACU coming from Reno. Right. I think you were probably a senior when I got onto MACU, if not a junior.
Yeah.
But before then, where did soccer start for you?
Well, I started late. Started around 11. Actually, my parents moved here from Mexico whenever I was 11, so I didn't actually play soccer. I played basketball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played basketball. And then...
right?
Yeah, and in El Reno, no Mexicans played basketball, so they all played soccer, right?
Oh, wow.
And so I had no choice. Started playing soccer, went with them every day after school to the park, and just I loved it, My dad would actually buy us basketballs, basketball shoes, and then we just kind of put that to the side and just focus on soccer, my brothers and I. And, that's how it started. I never played club or anything like that. I just played high school. And then, Matt Ross, he actually...
He's from El Reno as well.
Yeah, he's from El Reno. So he actually, he was assisting us at the high school. And he said, "Hey, I think you'd be great for MACU." And I said, "All right, let's give it a shot." So I went, tried out, went with Abel. I don't know you obviously know Abel, but I don't know if
Abel.
Shout out to Abel, doing great things at Santa Fe South.
Yeah, for real.
And Ryan, I don't know if you met Ryan, Ryan Huey.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he broke his leg at MACU, so he just, it was unfortunate for him. But him and then another kid named Jordan, we went and tried out for MACU, and then talked to Zach, talked to Evan, and they gave us a small scholarship, of course, and then just decided to go with it, really. And then after that, just left. You kind of know the story, right?
So, a little bit.
I was in Mexico for 3.5 years, and then I just came back after that, started teaching, got certified to teach. I started at Roosevelt. This is whenever I just...
That was your first experience teaching at Roosevelt?
Yes.
Wow.
But I did a whole year of subbing because I knew I wanted to teach mainly because I wanted to coach. But I didn't want to do the club because I didn't know anything about the club scene. So I was like, I just want to do high school. And so I got into teaching, obviously, at Roosevelt Middle School. Some of the guys there. Jose. Remember Jose?
Yeah. You got to
I coached Jose.
Coach the guys that I had in elementary school at Heronville?
Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Right. So Jose, there was Eric, there was...
Those are some good kids.
Yeah, it was a good group of kids, really talented, really passionate about the game,
We won all city at Heron. I mean, they probably told you, but when my wife signed me up to volunteer for PAL, and I just went in, and we ended up winning all city that year. It was pretty crazy, but it was really fun. Those kids are awesome.
Yeah, so that was my first, teaching. I was teaching a business class to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Yeah, it was definitely interesting. And then I coached the second year, and we did fairly well. We didn't win all city because there's always, obviously a lot of talent. A talent. We struggle against what's the school up north with
Taft.
Taft. Yeah, they're always good. Yeah, they're really good. So we struggled with them, and I think they ended up winning the all city tournament. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Had a it was funny because I had around like 70 kids my first year as a coach. I had 70 kids, and I had 2 coaches.
You were coaching at Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Of course.
And I had 2 coaches, 2 assistant coaches. One of them was I can't remember the organization that he worked for, but basically they place teachers all over the country for 2 years.
Okay.
And then so he was there for 2 years. He helped me out that first year, and then for my JV we hired it was the security guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We just need somebody. Hey.
Yeah, we just need somebody. So we gave him the JV. They went undefeated, though.
Wow.
Like, the JV went undefeated. We struggled a bit, but because of all the talent, of course. And then after that, I went to, El Reno.
How long were you at Roosevelt for, though?
A year and a half.
Just a year and a half. And they have a nice campus, too.
Yeah. They have a nice complex. The field is good. I think they have baseball, the track, and so
shout out to Fields and Futures.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I can't remember the guy that used to run it, but he helped me a ton.
Did he?
Yeah. So
I wish we knew his name.
I know. I'm really bad with names. That's the thing, man.
The key is not to admit that you are, because if you say that you're bad at names, it makes it worse. I've learned that. So
really,
yeah, say that you're good at names.
Okay, I'll start saying that I'm good at names.
Yeah, don't say that you're not. That helps me. Okay.
Right. Okay. So yeah, after that, I went to El Reno.
How did the offer come up? Were you looking for it, or?
No, I wasn't actually looking for it. I just, I was enjoying my time at Roosevelt. And then one of the principals, the assistant principals at Roosevelt, knew the principal in El Reno at the junior high, they call it. And so they're like, I have this guy, he's coaching the boys here, he's really good, and she didn't say that. She was like, he's all right, but so she was like, okay. So anyway, she, I guess, shared my info with the principal in El Reno, and the principal reached out to me and said, I have a teaching position, teaching math. Would you be interested? It also comes with the coaching position at the high school.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, sure. Like, I was like, that was a no-brainer for me, going back to El Reno after playing there. And I started coaching, and it was...
Middle school?
No, high school.
Oh, the high school.
Yeah, the high school. Yeah, I was teaching at the middle school, but I was coaching the high school team.
Would you have gone if the offer was there? Like, not if the high school position...
What do you mean?
The coaching position.
Would I have gone
if they
for
were
the
just
teaching?
Like, just come teach.
Probably not. No. So I ended up going because of the coaching. That was the main thing. And so I get there, and it was 2019, and that was COVID, my first year.
Damn, that's terrible.
And so they cancel everything, right? And so I get there, they cancel everything, and but the second year it was a lot better. We made playoffs. First round against Santa Fe South.
No.
Yes, against Santa Fe South.
And you guys got the upset, huh?
No, we did it. We should have. Honestly, to be fair, I think, obviously the home team gets the advantage. We got a couple calls, a goal that was disallowed, and that obviously could have changed the game for us because we pressed really well. I think that's the thing. After us, I think we ended up losing like 4-0. It doesn't sound good, right?
Yeah.
But every team after that Santa Fe played, they beat like 7-8-0. So we're like...
Yeah, something to take away from
right.
that. Was it against Abel?
Yes.
No way.
Yes. Yeah, it's hilarious. But
what do you say when you walk up to the halfway line? Did you guys say anything? Were you guys not speaking, or were you guys being cordial?
Yeah, we were just nice to each other,
That's
of course.
funny.
Like, good game, That was it. Let's be professional, At the end of the day, we're friends.
Meanwhile, Abel's talking to his boys like, hey, we can't lose to Gabby, Reno,
right.
because, we went to school together.
Exactly. Yeah, so I was there for 3 years at El Reno. The third year, we actually were in a 3-way tie. And we actually, we didn't make it for playoffs. Yeah, we went to Guyman. We played Guyman. We beat Guyman, but Guyman still made it in. And so that was tough. We needed to beat them like 4-0, and we only beat them 1-0. And then so
the long ride home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because we actually drove the night before.
Oh wow!
And it got canceled because of lightning, and so we came back, and then that was on a Friday, and then they're like, "We'll just play Saturday." I was like, you mean I have to drive the bus again? So I drove 4 hours there, 4 hours back, and then 4 hours, and then, 2 trips, and I was just like, it was brutal for me, but I just wanted to.
You wanted to get the win.
I wanted to get the win. I told the guys, I was like, hey, listen, we do need the result, but more importantly, we want to go out on a high note. Like finish with a positive note. So it was really good for the guys. We had a very talented seniors, and 2 of them made the All-State. And so I was really proud of that. I had a few district players as well. And then after that, I was just trying to look for the next.
You were already? Like 3 years was it?
Well, the thing is, there's not a lot of support. There's not a culture. And so I saw it as a struggle, obviously. And I wanted to stay, honestly, but I just didn't have the support. I just knew it was going to be draining, It was going to be very challenging. I was also helping Bo Richmond at Redlands with the women's program. So that kind of gave me an idea.
Shout out to Bo.
Yeah, Bo.
Watching right now.
Yeah, great guy.
Love that
coffee. Guy. Yeah, I love that guy, man. He's a funny character. But yeah, I was helping him out for 2 seasons. And then, a women's position came open in Batesville, Arkansas, Lyon College. They went from NAIA to Division III that year, my first year. So I can say that, obviously I was able to coach Division III program. It was not what I expected, honestly.
Why?
Yeah, because I interview and I was told different, and then I show up and it's just completely different.
How so? Like they promised you had a team and you show up and you didn't, or?
Yeah, well, this was an assistant position, right? And so I'm gonna be working under the head coach at that time, and I think he's still there actually. But it was, told me we're gonna have this many numbers, right? And we're going to be competitive. We're going to be in a good spot, right? And we're going to have all these things. And I show up and, we struggle with numbers, right? A lot of injuries. We had to recruit players from the basketball team, from the softball team. So, I was just, it was going to be a challenge. I'm not looking for something easy. I never have, like Roosevelt was not easy for me, like a lot of talent. I had, obviously to prepare well for that. Reno was not easy, but I was pleased with what I was able to provide for the players, And then, so funny enough, we played against Texas A&M and Texarkana during the season, and I met the head coach, Don Kuntz. Shout out to Don Kuntz. He's one of the best people that I've met. But yeah, I met him, and then after I left Lyon, I reached out to him and I said, hey, do you have a position available? And he said, yeah, you're welcome to come on board.
Wow.
And he said, but obviously we're going to he kind of put me on a trial basis, right? Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, so he had this ID camp, and he said, we would like for you to run a session, right? And so I was like, oh, wow, like I've never done this, like never, you interview, like you go sit in the office, you interview with the committee and stuff like that. But I've never done it to where like they actually evaluate your work. Right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool too. It's empowering as well because it's also showing you that, hey, I have confidence in you, so show me what you can do. So
this is an ID camp, right? And it's a recruiting, platform that we're, giving the players. And so I'm a little nervous, to be fair. I was like, this is
How many players were there?
We had around 80 players.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because it was both men and women, and so.
And you're planning a session of like 30 minutes and 2 hours, an hour.
Yes, right. Yeah. So I drove down there. I went to the ID camp, and it went really well. I've been trying to grow in my knowledge. So I think it went really well. He was very pleased with what he saw. Obviously, he gave me feedback afterwards. Like any coach should. And so it went really well. And then after the whole ID camp, he was like, "All right, man." He's like, welcome aboard, Wow. And so it was very exciting. I, obviously moved everything to Texarkana, and I was there for 2 years, the last 2 years before Panhandle. And it was very exciting because I knew that he had created a winning culture, especially with the women. I think the year before I got there, they won the conference. They made it to nationals, and so I was very excited. I didn't know that I was going to be working with both the men and the women, honestly. I just wanted to focus on the men. But on the women's side, it was a great experience because, you have that winning mentality. You have that that DNA, that they had set for themselves. And so it was very exciting. With the men, of course, man is challenging, but the first year that I was there, we ended up with the first winning season in school history. Like, we went 9-8. It's not that great, but
it is an improvement,
right? And I guess the years before I got there, they struggle a bit, and so kind of came in. Don had an idea of how he wanted to play. I kind of wanted to bring in something different, something that would add to what he had already, and so we kind of worked together. That's the thing. We worked really well together. We still did his style, kind of brought in my style, and we kind of meshed it together, and it worked really well. So that's what gave us success. We we had a season where we ended up in the quarterfinals playing against the conference champions, and we lost. We lost to them in double overtime.
Damn. So it could have gone either way.
Yeah, it was a really good goal. But yeah, it's a tough conference to begin with, and we were able to compete. My second year, again, we made playoffs. It wasn't as successful. We went from a 4-3-3 to a 3-5-2, so it was a bit of an adjustment for all the players, and recruiting wise, you always have these commits and then they decommit, and so now you're left with changing the whole system, and so we wanted to obviously be successful, but it did allow us to have I would say a good experience for not only for myself, for Dom, for the players,
for the program too.
Yeah, for the program. And then on the women's side, we struggled, semifinals and quarterfinals for the women's program, but it was man, I love my time there. I was just talking to the assistant coach, Clarissa Hernandez. Shout out to her as well. She was my mentor. She taught me everything that basically I know going into Panhandle, like all the paperwork, all the stuff. Like coaching wise, Don was on that. But yeah, we had a great time. I told her, I was like, man, I kind of miss it. I kind of miss it. And she's like, yeah, well, we miss you too, but obviously I'm at Panhandle now. Yeah. So
you did say you are a person that likes to take on challenges, and I feel like the decisions that you've made have kind of built you up to take on the challenge like you're taking right now at Panhandle. Yeah. Because you went to the first college that didn't have the culture. Now you got a taste of what a culture is like. Right. And now you're put in a position where they had a decent season last year at Panhandle. Right. But now you get to kind of do your own thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of, Panhandle, it was, I looked at obviously you do your research, right?
Before we go to Panhandle, that's crazy how you ended up at that previous college that we were just talking about.
Texas A&M.
The moral of the story there is always be nice to people. Always how important it is to always, impressions matter, right. And you might have spoken to him like for a minute or two. Yeah. But look where that got you. And being brave enough to reach out. Like, what made you want to just reach out?
Well, he had that vibe, Like, he was just like, I mean, you can tell, like, when a guy is just like, has confidence in his ability and his work, So I was like, man, and he's being successful. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna reach out to him, see if it leads to anything, And it was a great experience. Like I said, he's probably one of the best people that I met. He's very passionate about his work, and he's always committed. The two words that I've taken from him is accountability and responsibility. That's what he tells the players. You have to be accountable and responsible in every aspect. And we talk about the success that we had on the field, but we also were successful in the classroom. We were able to have the highest GPA in history of the program. And so. Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah, that is huge. We just did our award ceremony for Panhandle last night, actually, and that's something that I want to get to. I want to bring that culture not only on the field but also in the in the classroom. And so I want to have my players being recognized not only for their achievements as far as, winning games and stuff like that, but also for, their academics. So that's really huge. Really big for us, I would say. Yeah.
Then you're not going to be teaching anymore. You're just coaching, huh?
No, I don't think I could do teaching, man. I don't think I could do teaching anymore. I just want to focus on the soccer part. It's, my first year right now, and so I got there, March. I interviewed mid-February.
Did you apply? Did the opportunity? How did you find out about that?
Yeah, so I saw it. Like, I told Don, I was like, hey, Don, I would like to be here, come and work with you for 2 years, maybe 3. But eventually I want to have my own program. That's always been the goal. I remember I did a coaching course, the last one that I did, my C license. And funny enough, Neil was part of it, Shout out to Neil. Yeah. And so part of it, they give you kind of like a personal plan. Like, you have to set goals for yourself. And, obviously one of them was, I'm already in the college game. I want to continue that. I want to have my own program, and I want to build it the way that I want to have it, And so that was the idea. And so I've been, looking online, like the job postings and all that. So I saw Panhandle, and I was like, okay, this might be something, And so I submitted my application. Don wrote me a letter of recommendation, and the AD called me on a Wednesday. And he said, hey, would you be interested in an interview? We received your application. And I was like, yeah, for sure. We ended up talking that it was supposed to be just a quick call, right? And we ended up talking for like almost an hour. And so I consider that like my first interview, the first interview, And then on Friday, we have our the committee, with the whole committee Zoom. And then, it went really well. I didn't tell you this, but while I was at Texas A&M, I also coached. I assisted the high school. It's called Texas High School with Zach McCarthy, an English guy. And I learned a lot from him. So it was, a combination with him and Don that allowed me to kind of be like, okay, I feel like I'm pretty ready. Like I'm ready to take on a head coaching role. And so
I'm curious as to how Texas high school soccer is. So maybe we can like put a bookmark there so we can touch back on that, because I'm curious.
Yeah,
for Texas is huge.
Right.
I can't imagine what high school soccer is like for Texas.
Texas, high school soccer is different, man.
I heard that from these guys because they spoke to somebody. They were speaking to people in Texas, and they were asking them like, hey, do you guys have like something like the Football Factory, something like that kind of merges both? And they're like, no. And it makes sense because Texas is so huge that you don't need... Here, it's like club and high school and club is kind of synonymous. You can't really separate them. But there, it's so huge that they're just two things separate of their own. Am I right? Am I wrong?
They are. Obviously you have like the best players. The best high school teams obviously have
best
players,
facilities.
Best facilities, yes. But they also have they're still connected because the best players in high school are still playing club, in the best clubs, And so, but yeah, it's different, man.
Let's Imagine just trying to win state, huh? Yeah. We were talking about your letters of recommendation and how you spoke to the committee.
Right.
And then you were like, but I also coached high school. And then you kind of diverted
Yeah, kind of diverted. Yeah, but it's a good seg because, like, I really enjoy it. Like, at the end of the day, for me, it's all about player development. Like, I've created, like, I've coached middle school, high school, junior college, Division III, NAIA. And so I've tried to find a way to where how can I develop these players in the shortest amount of time, right?
Make an impact.
Make an immediate impact in their development, Because, like, as coaches, we focus on the physical, right? You can make them run, you can make them lift, you can do all those things. You focus on the technical, right? On improving their touch, and on the tactical, understanding of the game, reading and understanding the game, and also the psychological part. But how do you do those things in the shortest amount of time, right? And so what I did both at Reno, even at Roosevelt and at Texas High School, we would do classroom sessions where we would actually teach the kids about soccer, So, like, we go in there and they actually, I remember at Reno, they're like, Coach, really? Are we taking a test? Are we doing a quiz on like on thirds? Are we doing a quiz on zones? Or on different moments of the game, attacking, defending, transition, and so.
And Gabriel was like, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, right. I want to know your IQ. Let me see where you're at. Let me see where the team's at.
Right.
Because that is important.
Exactly. But, going back to Texas high school, we struggle because, Texarkana is so isolated. We're on the east side of Texas, and everything's around the Dallas area. We're like almost 3 hours away from that. And then the club there is a club, but the level is not as high, So if you want the kids to really excel, you need to take them driving 3 hours to Dallas area, And so we struggle a bit because we didn't have that connection with the club, And keep going. Yeah, and so we struggle a bit, but the first year was a challenge. The second year was a bit better. Last year, this season, we had a freshman win all district, first team all district. Wow. Yeah, because we really focused on the young guys. We knew that after the first year, we knew that it was going to be a struggle with the upperclassmen because they're kind of set on their ways.
Different habits.
Yes, habits. And so we went back to the freshmen. And funny enough, I'll show you a picture after of something that Zach sent me. I always use this phrase: check your shoulder, right? Scanning, awareness. Mm-hmm. That's huge for me. And he sent me kind of like a meme about it. But every player on the team would be, telling me, "Hey, coach, if I forget something or if I, bump my, into something," and be like, "Coach, you need to check your shoulder." It was one of those things, and I was like, "All right,
check your shoulder T."
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so it was good. It was good times, but the team did a lot better this last season. Okay. Yeah. We struggled the first year, but the second year is always, there's always improvement. But again, shout out to Zach, and he's doing great things. I think he's gonna do amazing. We talked about obviously being ready for the college game, and I think he's one of those coaches that is definitely ready for a college gig. In terms of his organization, that's something that I took away from working with him, and then just the tactical part. He's so detailed, detail oriented in the rotations, movement, cues, and all those things that we want to have the kids do. Obviously, we struggled the first year, but the second year, like I said, it was better. That we did a lot of classroom sessions. We did this with the board with film sessions where we broke everything down, and so that helped a lot. And so I think at the end of the day, like I said, it's all about player development for myself and for him, and we really worked together along with Don. And so all of those things kind of got me
you up to where you are now, huh?
Yeah. So I felt like this is the moment, and so I interviewed with the committee. It went well, and then the athletic director told me, he said, "We still have interviews on Monday, and we'll finish up today, and then some interviews on Monday, and then by Tuesday we'll let you know." And so Tuesday came around, and I was confident in how the interview went, and he called me. He said, "Hey."
He's like, "You fucking called me."
Yeah, I was excited. I was thrilled, really. I was like, "Oh my God, is this really?" Because a lot of people will say, I heard a coach say, he said that whenever you get that job, head coach position at the college game, you think you made it, right? But you're just getting started. Yeah, you're just getting started. All that excitement turns to oh my God, it's
the weight starts to fall on your shoulders a little bit.
Exactly. And so, fortunately for me, like I said, I kind of had all the experience that I needed from A&M, the recruiting wise. Whenever I was there recruited, we wanted to focus more on internationals. So that was my task, recruit internationals. I brought in 8 internationals. I think at the time we only had 1 or 2 internationals on the roster. And we brought 8 of them, and then I brought a couple American players as well from Texas. And so I was pretty confident in my ability to recruit, and so I was like, this is something that I could do. And so...
Did you just say yes? Or like, let me think about it. I got another offer on the table. What did you say?
No, I said, he said, well, we would like to fly you out here, get you out here to Panhandle and have you...
Oklahoma, you're in.
Yeah. Because I was in Texas. And so They booked a flight for me from Texarkana to Dallas to Amarillo, got me a car, drove up there.
From Amarillo. They're not even flying you to Oklahoma City.
Yeah. And so Amarillo is like an hour and 45 from the university. So that was, obviously helpful because I didn't have to drive that long. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it was great. I went, visited, met with the AD, with the committee, had lunch, had dinner with a few of the coaching staff. And so it was good. At the end of the interview, he said, "Are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll take it." And then, so I was very excited, man. Yeah. I was very excited. I knew, like I said, I did my research, and I knew the team was, it was going to be a challenge for me. But it was a challenge that I obviously I welcome. Willing to accept. So.
Congratulations, bro. That's crazy. You set a goal and you hit that.
So, but like I said, it's just like barely getting started, Yeah. So far it's been good, I know that the program struggled with numbers as well. There were some games that they struggled with numbers, and so the idea
where we're at in the cards.
Yeah. So we're looking to recruit some players right now, and so.
Well, let's see what we can do to help you recruit, because I have some notes here.
All right.
And for the people that don't know where Oklahoma Panhandle State University is, it is located in Goodwill, Oklahoma. A focused, peaceful setting that's perfect for players who want to grow in the game without distractions, right? Because that's important. You can be in the city and it's easy for you to get distracted, but when you're out in a place like that and the only option is soccer,
right?
I mean, that's good for players who might need to stay away from distractions, like I might have,
or I myself, right? No, but yeah, I mean, it's
professional,
right? Let's keep it professional. That's what I was afraid of,
No,
it's all good. But yeah, I mean, we're in an isolated area, obviously. Guyman is the closest, like the biggest town that we have, which is about 15 minutes away. But the university itself, it's in Goodwill, Oklahoma. It's about 1,000, the population, and so the focus whenever I'm recruiting is, we want you to be focused on the best part, which is the football part, right?
Yeah, but you also spoke on the importance of academics as well.
Academics
and that culture that you're wanting to create as well.
So it will allow us to, obviously be locked in, as Don would say, just being locked in on what's important. Because at the end of the day, like we want to provide those opportunities for the players, but at the same time, I always bring in those two words from Don, that accountability and responsibility. Yeah. And so being in this area, it'll allow us to kind of eliminate some of the distractions, and so just focus on what really matters, which is the football part. Yeah. I always tell the players, especially the internationals, is like, you're already making the sacrifice, right? Because it is a sacrifice for the internationals to come and be so far away from home.
As it is.
Right. And so I tell them, you want to be in a good spot, for the football part as well as the academics, and you want to do well, and you want to take advantage of everything that, this opportunity gives you. So
yeah, you are pretty good at recruiting. What's funny is how, like, this podcast is on a thin line of just like either falling to being really professional or it's just getting the wire and just getting crazy. Yeah, so that's very funny. Another bullet point that I have here.
Okay.
The affordability and the support. OPSU honors Oklahoma Promise, which is huge for kids that are graduating from Oklahoma,
right,
who aren't of a certain income bracket.
Right.
So if kids don't know about Oklahoma Promise, you can you have to sign up, I believe, in your junior year, before your junior year of high school, and they'll basically be able to pay for your scholarship, just depending on what situation you're in.
Right.
Then there's FAFSA as well.
FAFSA.
And then you also have dedicated scholarships for Oklahoma players as well, residents as well, that can go on top of all of that. Some people don't know that if you stack up scholarships like this, you can put money back in your pocket. There's an overage check that you can be looking at. If, you get OLAP, FAFSA,
right,
Oklahoma Promise, and a soccer scholarship. So
right.
Am I right? Am I
yeah,
wrong?
Absolutely. Oklahoma Promise, obviously we accept that, and FAFSA. I go mostly with FAFSA because, it's a general, like, Oklahoma Promise.
Everyone can.
Right. For FAFSA, everyone can apply for it. And I think right now it's a pretty good amount that they give you, that they provide for you. And then on top of that, we have a special, a budget for Oklahoma residents. So whenever I'm recruiting, I'm telling them, obviously that you could actually come to us and pay very little money or come for free, essentially. And so, of course, the idea, again, is to, first of all, get them out there, visit the campus. I think the facilities, on top of the academics, which are really good, the facilities, we probably have some of the, obviously, we're in the conference with MACU, right? We compete against, some USAO,
Oklahoma Christian.
Right. But in terms of the facilities that,
Oklahoma City University. That's
Oklahoma City. Yeah. USAO is in there, John Brown, Wayland Baptist, Texas Wesleyan, Nelson University. But in terms of our facilities, what we can offer it, on top of the costs, obviously being very affordable, then we do have excellent facilities. Obviously, whenever I'm recruiting, I'm taking pictures of the locker room, the field. We do have a football program out there, so we share the facility with the football program. So it's really is well kept. We have the weight room. We have a pool. And so
they also have a rodeo team too. I didn't know that. I saw that online. I was like, dude, this is legit. You can go to college for rodeo. There's a sophomore, a senior.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So again, we were at the awards last night, and they were giving awards for different sports, and rodeo obviously being big out there. So if there's any rodeo
soccer players, yes, hey man, we're in Oklahoma. You never know.
Right? Yeah. There was actually an award given to a basketball player for rodeo. So it was funny to see that. Yeah. So
what kind of players are you looking for?
Well, like I said, I'm just looking for someone that's really committed to the sport, that just wants to play. All right. Because again, like I said, we bringing in some players, and we don't have a lot to offer around, goodwill. We just want players that are really about the sport, committed. It's got to be a passion, and there's got to be commitment for us. Currently we're looking for just a couple positions. We're looking for strikers and wingbacks. We play in a 3-5-2. I want to bring in the system that I've used at Texas A&M the last year at Texas High School, and we've implemented the formation 3-5-2 with the team currently for the spring season. We played three matches. We lost our first one, and then we tied our second and third game. But I've only been there for 5 weeks, and so being able to do that, I think that's huge improvement from last season. So like I said, we're looking at all the things that I talked about earlier when we're looking for the physical aspects of the players, right? We're looking for the technical, the tactical, their understanding, and obviously they have to be in a good mindset, to be able to do well. But more importantly, we're looking for committed and passionate players that are, ready to compete. I think around the Oklahoma City area, I don't know how many universities you have. There's MACU, there's Oklahoma City, there's Southwestern Christian. SNU,
SCU. Yeah, you just brought up a Southwestern Christian down the street from SNU.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Redlands.
Yeah, and so some of these players obviously want to stay close to home, but
Randall.
Randall. Yeah, I spoke with Mario a couple times, Yeah.
Shout out to Mario.
Yes. And then, so, again, I know there's obviously different universities here. They can make it affordable for the players, but, practically they're able to come up to us if they want and pay, like I said, little to no money or get money back. And so the only thing is, obviously, we're 4 hours away from Oklahoma City. But I don't think that's really, in my opinion, because I make the drive. My parents live in El Reno. I make the drive 2-3 times a week, and it's not
that bad. For a player, I think of myself who, when I graduated high school, I really didn't care where I would go as long as I got to play.
Right.
So it's good to know that there's opportunities and coaches like you that are looking for Oklahoma players, So
right.
So I would have gone wherever as long as I would have gotten a chance to play.
Right. I mean, recruiting internationals is not necessarily hard for us. I think that comes easy for us, but the local talent is what we're looking for. We want to give some opportunities to some local players. I think at the end of the day, I want to give back to the community. Like I said, I started at
That's what I was going to ask you if you ever think about yourself when you were, and how your recruitment process was and how you're going about it now.
Right. Yeah, of course. You always have that in the back of your head. You want to make it an easier, obviously, process for the players. You want to give them more opportunities. I think this is obviously, this podcast is a platform that allows for that. Obviously giving exposure to, different universities around the area. But again, if there's someone out there that is wants to be still in Oklahoma, still receive that Oklahoma resident scholarship, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time wants to be just a bit away from home, just to say, I went to school somewhere else, then
I got out of the city. I left Oklahoma City,
right, to get a good well. But no, we have a good culture. We started like in the last 6 weeks. Since I met the team, we had a team meeting, and I said, we're going to...
Here's a test.
Right.
Is that what you said?
Right.
Team meeting, here's a test.
Right. No, it's funny. It's funny because, I was listening to the last one with Evan, right? Mm-hmm. With Evan, and he talked about, the development part of the players, and he talked about, funny enough, he talked about some of the college players that still lack.
Being able to see at what level, what they need at that level, and then going and working with the youth and trying to implement that early on.
Exactly.
Very good point. That stood out to me too.
So yeah, it stood out to me, obviously. And so we want to, whenever I met them, and I said I had a whole PowerPoint because Zach was huge on PowerPoints. He'd go to Canva and create these amazing PowerPoints. And, so I wanted to kind of bring in something similar. And so I met the team.
Whoa, this guy has a PowerPoint. This guy's crazy.
I know, right? But in my PowerPoint, I talked about the game model, how we want to play, like formation. And so kind of get him mentally prepared for it, right? And I talked about all the things that, for when we talk about awareness, right? We talk about awareness for the players. It's a conscious decision that they have to make. And then it becomes... subconscious. Yeah, it becomes a habit, but they have to know, obviously where the ball is, right? Mm-hmm. They have to know where their teammate is, right? The opponent, right? And based on that, they find space, right? But when you find space, you have to position your body. You have to position your body a certain way. Your body shape has to be correct. Is it on the half turn? Is it play the way that you're facing, right?
Checking shoulder,
Exactly. That's the biggest thing for me.
The name of the podcast. Yeah, check your shoulder.
Check your shoulder.
Check your shoulder with Gabriel Gonzalez.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so we talk about those things. Like the directional touch, or
your first touch.
Yeah. Exactly.
The most important.
And so moving forward, what do you do after that? Because if you find space, if you have space, you have time, right? If you have time, it needs to be quality. And so those are little things that I talked about. In my meeting with the players, I said, these are the things that you're going to be evaluated on, because the spring season for me was a period of evaluation, to see what they're able to do. I said, basically, I'm recruiting you, if I like what you can provide for the team, and it's tough. It's tough because you're like, you might have to cut some scholarships.
That's real life, though. It's no different from being a professional soccer player with a new head coach coming in.
Right. And I want to be successful, and I want every player to be successful. And I'm going to give them all the tools, right? I always say I'm going to give you the same opportunity that I'm going to give someone else, okay? It's just up to you whether you, obviously take the opportunity, take advantage of it. Yeah, so.
No pressure, right?
No pressure. But again, in my, obviously in my experience, I'm very detailed on my instruction. I tell them, hey, why, if it goes well, why did it go well? Okay, the rotation was there, the cue was there, right? And then the checking of the shoulder was there, obviously. And so we didn't turn the ball over, right? And that's why we were successful in breaking the line, the first line of pressure, right? And so if it doesn't go well, then I go back to those same things. And I was like, what happened?
Because like you said, if you have time, you have to make it quality time. But if you don't have time, well, you should already know what to do, because we've practiced where everyone's going to be at and position-wise.
Exactly. So I'm not trying to create machines or anything like that, but I'm trying to give them all this information so that they can make a decision of their own while they're playing, and still maintain our formation, still maintain our rotation.
Because once the game starts, there's not much you can do.
Exactly. I don't want to be the coach that's shouting, I think that's for me, I did that earlier on.
Yeah.
I did it earlier on. But I realized I was like, if I just spend more time One, in the classroom with quizzes.
That makes sense. It makes sense.
Right. Then you eliminate. You save yourself some frustration, right? And so even though they're college players already, and some of the players that I have are really, really talented. I have this French guy, right, he's really good. He's a futsal guy, right? And so he has the technical ability, okay? But again, it's, how do they adapt to the game model that we have? How do we build out? How do we maintain possession? How do we create opportunities up front? How do we press? I'm big on pressing. So I'm like, if we're disconnected, they're going to break us, right? And so whenever we go back and watch film, it's like, what happened here? I asked you guys to stay connected. There's no reason why they should be playing through the middle. It's because we're disconnected, And so little details like that save us a lot of time. And basically, it gives the responsibility and the accountability back to the players. And so
that's crazy. The whole time you were talking about that, I was thinking to myself, if Gabby knew back then what he knew now.
I know. It's crazy, because I talked to Matt Ross. Obviously, I talked to Kit. I talked to Abel.
Still at Northwest Classing, right?
Yes, Matt Ross is still at Northwest Classing, right?
Last time I spoke to him, he was like, I don't know how long I'll be doing this, and that was like 5-6 years ago,
right? And so, but again, that's the evolution, I guess, for every person. I think I'm very thankful for the opportunity to have played at MACU with under Evan and Zach. I think those two guys are amazing people, and them giving me that opportunity and kind of just. Obviously, I saw, but essentially what I said whenever I started coaching, I was like, I want to have that type of job. I want to be like Evan, like Zach, like give that opportunity to the other players, because they gave me that opportunity, I wasn't the best player, I wasn't the best student,
but we were learning.
But we were learning, right? Exactly, and all that experience has allowed me to be here today. Those opportunities. So I want to provide that same opportunity for the same guy, for the guys that are, obviously looking to play at the next level.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. And the SAC is not a conference to joke about, dude.
Oh my
You're picking up a team that went 2-11-2 last year. So,
right.
I mean, there's only one way from here, right?
Yeah.
And that's up.
Right.
So,
yes.
You have some key games, right? The key games. I put August 26th, the home opener against Bacone. I always remember. I think that might have been the first game that I played at MACU when we traveled to Bacone. No, I'm lying. That was the first game Jeremiah Huff came back.
Jeremiah?
Yeah, when he wasn't playing with us.
Right.
Then September 5th, you got Randall University against Mario Godinez. So that'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah, we're coming to Randall. Yeah.
Be looking out to that one. SNU on the 14th of September.
Yeah.
Sounds like September's far, but it's pretty close.
Right, yeah.
And then
it's just around the corner.
The personal one on the 21st of September, you probably have that one circled against MACU.
MACU.
Your alma mater.
Right, yeah.
Like I said, we're going to take you down.
Right. No, I mean, I love MACU. I love MACU. Like the opportunities that it gave me, obviously first, just the educational side, and obviously we just spoke about the football part, but in the big picture is, like I'm grateful, but at the end of the day, I want to go out and compete and obviously win.
Is that first one at MACU or is it at home? Do you know?
It's going to be at MACU.
That's going to be at MACU?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. First season as a head coach.
I know. It's going to be at MACU. But like I said, I always go and support them. Like every time they make the postseason.
Not this time, though.
Not this time, I always like to, I come out. The last game that they played, that I watched them play was against Wayland Baptist.
Okay.
And my friend who I met at Lyon College, he was the assistant for the men's program there, Alex Castañeda, shout out to him as well. He's actually the head coach at Wayland Baptist, the women's side now, but he was the assistant for the men's last year. And so I ran into him at Nike at the outlet.
Okay.
And I was like, yo, you play? He's like, yeah, we play MACU. And he's like, you gonna come out and support? I was like, yeah, I'll support both of you, but, and MACU plays obviously a certain way, and Wayland Baptist plays a certain way. And at the end of the game, I was like, I'm looking at the game and I'm analyzing. I was like, this is a 4-3-3, this is a 3-5-2, and I would have played this way, And so obviously things can change, but I'm pretty confident that if we focus on us, right? Rather than focusing on the opponent, because that's the biggest thing for us, for our team right now, is to have an identity, the way that we want to play. We don't want to just change it every single game and adjust to the opponent, exclusively. We want to make sure that we still
have a game plan.
Have a game plan. Yes, we still want to. Obviously, we're still going to prepare for what's his name, Federico, right? Federico. We're still going to prepare. I mean, some of the
Freddie.
Yeah. So it's funny because in high school El Reno played against Northwest Class, and I remember that guy.
He might not be the tallest player out there, but man, is he quick?
Yeah,
man,
he's shifty.
He reminds me of this guy that I used to play with called Gabriel Gonzalez.
I played against him in indoor.
Oh really?
Yeah, I played it one time. Yeah, I
suck.
played against. Yeah, I know they killed us.
Yeah.
But I mean, we want to prepare obviously, and at the end of the day, I think we're just gonna keep it professional. We're gonna go out there and compete and hopefully get that result. But that's big for us,
That's intense, dude.
It's exciting. Yeah.
¿Cómo ves?
Oh yeah. No,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you set your goal and you achieved it. So, have you created any new goals?
Yeah. So for me personally, or professionally, I think it's about, like I said at the beginning, like giving back to the players, to the community, right? Giving opportunities. And for me, it would be, I'm okay right now. Just got to Panhandle. I'm okay being there a few years. I told the AD, I was like, I would like to be here for a few years at least, and hopefully turn the program around, And but if the opportunity comes, I would definitely. I'm looking for higher level, of course. I think.
Got to strive for it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. You have to wake up and have. There's an interesting book that I read. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Okay.
Right, and so it talks about having begin with the end in mind. Like having,
always.
Yeah, and so that's huge for me. And so
if you don't have the end in mind, you don't know where you're going to end up.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
At least if you aim for the moon, you can end up in the stars. But
right.
You have to have the end in mind.
And so, again, the idea is to be at Panhandle for a few years, turn the program around, hopefully, and then see what's next. Hopefully something,
something will come up. But for now, we have a mission, right?
Yeah. Focusing on the mission right now. Obviously the recruiting part is huge, and, just being prepared. We were putting our I like to be prepared in all aspects, our nutrition plan, our conditioning plan, our weight training plan, we want to be prepared, our training sessions, like I worked in a certain way. The guys that I have right now, they're really excited to come back because they've seen that, we have, everything laid out. The way that I work, obviously my training sessions are in 4 different phases. I think, obviously I don't want to give too much away, but, for the players that would like to come with us, we have it set to where we can only go and achieve great things if we obviously stick to the plan. But the plan is there. It's just a matter of, bringing in the right pieces, recruiting the right guys, having the right culture. We want a team mentality first, and then because at the end of the day, if you focus on the team first, I think the individual achievements will come naturally, So.
Well, dude, this was a very insightful conversation. If there's anything that I learned, I'm volunteering right now on my son's team to coach at the Y. I signed up to be an assistant, but the coach they had dropped out, so They called me. Mm-hmm. So I have a whole bunch of U8s, like 10 or 12, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to show up on Thursday with the test in my hand to make sure they know what a throw-in is, what a goal kick is. No jokes aside, but that's probably one thing that I will pick up is that's very smart, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to pick up. But
right.
But yeah, that was
it'll save you some, a lot of frustration. Mm-hmm. I promise that. Yeah. For me, it was like, man, because the idea came from there was an article that we read, one of the courses, the coaching courses that I did, and it was about like the player development. How did they develop? And it was, I think they brought on like Xavi's like work, mm-hmm. like classroom work,
his notes,
and and so that really like appealed to me, and I was just like, okay, so if I do this, right, it'll be easier. I'll be able to, bridge the gap a little bit faster, in the development. And so, we focus on, when we have our sessions, we focus on the players actually telling us. We ask the players, okay, so what happens here, And so they have that initiative, and they're like, okay, if they get it right, obviously it builds their confidence because they're understanding the game a lot better, If they get it wrong, it's an opportunity for them to learn, to grow, right? And so,
that's smart, because normally when you're having a conversation with somebody, the hardest part is making sure that you guys are both speaking on the same thing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? 'Cause you can be saying one thing, he could be thinking you're saying something else, but it all comes down to when you take that test and bridging that gap, like you said. So,
exactly.
So yeah.
That was another point. Yeah, speaking the same language, that'll save you a lot of frustration.
Oh, dude, that's exciting. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. Sunrise Soccer is coming. We're going to start 6 a.m. trainings in the beginning of June.
Okay.
So if you're ever in town, or if you ever want to send anyone that might want to volunteer, we'll be doing it Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays starting the first week of June, starting with elementary, middle school, and then high school. Switching every week, and then we'll do it again in July. So
okay, that's exciting.
Yeah, we used to be able to have everybody out there, and
I know
you would just adjust, but there's no adjusting when you get 150 kids. Dude. It's just inefficient, unprofessional, and as a parent, I would be like, "What are we doing here?"
Right. Where are you doing the trainings now?
Scissortail Park, where the turf is in front of the Hincha Latina.
Okay,
it's a beautiful place there. They only have one field, but.
Because I remember it was Wheeler Park, right?
Mm-hmm. And Wheeler Park, it was good. It still is great. It does its job, but there's nothing like turf on the sunrise, and it's kind of like wet, and it's kind of, the backdrop. It's beautiful out there. So.
Okay. I need to check it out. I haven't been. I was at Wheeler Park a couple of times, with Javier and yourself. And And
Joe.
Right.
It's crazy how long we've been. This is year 8 of Sunrise Soccer.
Yeah, that's what whenever I was thinking about the Roosevelt kids, I was thinking of Jose, being out there with you guys. He was just, he's a character.
He loved soccer.
Yeah.
He probably still does. I don't know. I know that some of those guys have graduated.
Yeah, I think maybe even 2 years ago, maybe they graduated already.
Quan and all them. That's crazy to see how fast time goes, man.
I know, man. It's exciting to see. Well, exciting to see the growth also, like how it started, where it's at now.
Dude, look, now we're in here.
I know we're in here. This is incredible. Like I said, thank you again for the opportunity to allow me to be here and share kind of a bit of my story, and obviously my journey and my goals, and hopefully we'll get some Oklahoma kids.
That would be fun. I'm pretty sure we'll do our best to try to guide. At least let people know that there's an option out there.
Right.
And, the podcast is always open if you ever want to come back and,
for sure,
bring us an update, tell us how things are going, let us know when you're going to have a kid or not,
Right.
No, I'm kidding. But no, man, I appreciate you. And again, I appreciate everyone that's been listening to the podcast. This has been another episode of the Mas Futbol Podcast.
Thank you.